Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai, Namacharya Shilhar Thakur ki jai, Prem se Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Hari Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Lavani Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radha. Jaya Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. Jayo Gauranitai, 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 Jayo Gauranitai. Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jayam
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotarshat Shishimad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotarshat Shishimad, His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Jai Shri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki, Mayapur Dham Ki, Jagannath Kshetra Dham Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Yamuna Mai Ki, Tulsi Maharani Ki, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from chapter 4, text 21 from Bhagavad Gita. So chapter 4, text 21. If anyone could find this verse. Okay, let's first recite the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nirashiryatra Chittatma Tyakta sarva parigraha Shariram kevalam karma Kurvanapnoti kilvisham Nirashiryata chitatma Tyakta sarva parigraha Shariram kevalam karma Kurvanapnoti kilvisham Nirashiryata chitatma Tyakta sarva parigraha Shariram kevalam karma Kurvanapnoti kilvisham. Would you like to recite? Nirashiryata chitatma Tyakta sarva parigraha Shariram kevalam karma Kurvan kanapnoti kilvisham. Thank you, very nice. Word for word. Nirashi, without desire for the result. Yata, controlled. Chitatma, mind and intelligence. Tyakta, giving up. Sarva, all. Parigraha, sense of proprietorship over possessions. Shariram, in keeping body and soul together. Kevalam, only. Karma, work. Kurvan, doing. Na, never. Apnoti, thus acquire. Kilvisham, sinful reactions. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life, Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. Purport. A Krishna-conscious person does not expect good or bad results in his activities. His mind and intelligence are fully controlled. He knows that because he is part and parcel of the Supreme, the part played by him as a part and parcel of the whole is not his own activity, but is only being done through him by the Supreme. When the hand moves, it does not move out of its own accord, but by the endeavor of the whole body. A Krishna-conscious person is always dovetailed with the supreme desire, for he has no desire for personal sense gratification. He moves exactly like a part of a machine. As a machine part requires oiling and cleaning for maintenance, so a Krishna-conscious man maintains himself by his work just to remain fit for action in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. He is therefore immune to all the reactions of his endeavors. Like an animal, he has no proprietorship even over his own body. A cruel proprietor of an animal sometimes kills the animal in his possession, yet the animal does not protest, nor does it have any real independence. A Krishna-conscious person, fully engaged in self-realization, has very little time to falsely possess any material object. For maintaining body and soul, he does not require unfair means of accumulating money. He does not, therefore, become contaminated by such material sins. He is free from all reactions to his actions. Amma Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvai Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you for coming and attending this Bhagavad Gita class. I ask you for your blessings, please. If you could give me your blessings so I can speak according to the Shastra and for our benefit and purification. Yes. So, one more time. Sorry, just one moment. The translation: such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. So first of all, it is said here, such a man of understanding. So who is this man? That refers to the previous verses in the same chapter. In the previous verse, in verse 420, Krishna was explaining who is that person. That person is someone who is in Krishna consciousness, someone who is a devotee. And so such a person is not attached to the result of work. Whatever they do, they are not expecting any particular results. They just do it for Krishna. And even though they perform activities, they are not really getting any results from that. No good karma, no bad karma. And such a person is very, very satisfied, and that's why they are not really hankering for getting something from their activity. Usually in material world, we do something because we want to get something from that. We want to get some material benefit, some wealth, some, we are working to get money, and from this money we can get a nice house and nice car and go for nice holiday, and we want to look nice because so that others will speak nice words about us. So there is always some motive behind it, but actually in a person in Krishna consciousness does not have any motive. They are just doing it for Krishna. And then it says that he's a man of understanding. So what does this man understand? He or she, they understand the real position of who they are, that they are the servants of God, and their only duty is to act whatever he wants them to do, and to act for his pleasure, and to act as the servant. So such a person acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled. So how is it possible to control the mind? Arjuna says to Krishna in 6th chapter, verse 34, the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So yeah, we know that the mind is very, very difficult to control. Sometimes we decide something with our intelligence. We decide, okay, this is not good for me. From tomorrow, I'm not going to have sweets. And this is, our intelligence tells us, yeah, I know this is not good for my health, so I won't do that. But then the mind starts telling us, oh, have just a little bit, and then the senses drag us to do something which we don't really want to do. So it's not easy really to control the mind. But there is a way to control it. Actually, there is one more example, how Srila Prabhupada gives in one of his classes that like a child is naughty child, is always up to mischief, always doing something to do something naughty. And this child, if the parent tells them, stop doing that, the child will maybe sit for one moment, but then again they will continue. So this is not the solution, just to say stop. But when the parent engages the child in some healthy activity, gives them some nice game to play or some duty to perform, then the child will get absorbed in this activity, and that will help to stop the child from being naughty. So similarly with the mind, we cannot just say, oh, stop thinking about that. We cannot do that. But what we can do is engage the mind in healthy activities. So in our case, we engage the mind in thinking about Krishna. And the senses we engage in doing things for Krishna. And there is example of Ambarish Maharaj, who, as a great devotee of the Lord, he engaged all his senses in serving the Lord. It is described that he engaged his mind in thinking about the Lord, and his eyes in looking at the form of the Lord, and his touch in touching the bodies of the devotees, and his legs in going to the places of pilgrimage and to the temples. And like that, he became completely purified. So similarly for us, we have the senses, we have the mind, and we can't just deny it and just say, oh, stop thinking and stop doing things. This is not possible. But the healthy way of dealing with in this situation is just to absorb our body, use our body and use our senses and the mind in Krishna's service. And like that, we will not only become satisfied, but also we will gradually become purified from all material contamination and all suffering. So then it is described that this person gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions. So again, Maharaj Ambarish can be a very good example. He understood that everything belongs to Krishna, that nothing is his. So even though he was the emperor of the earthly planet, he had such a big possession in his hands, but he never thought it's his. He always remembered this all belongs to Krishna, so nothing for me to claim the proprietorship over those things. So this is the attitude of the devotee, that even though they may have some possession, but the purpose is just to use it in Krishna's service. And like that, nothing is theirs. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he would use all facilities in Krishna's service. He wouldn't reject some facilities which were there, but he understood that this is not mine, I'm going to use it in Krishna's service. So similarly in our lives, we can understand that we don't have to reject what Krishna is giving us. Like if we have a nice house, this is good. We can invite devotees to come and stay. We can invite them for prasadam. We can build a nice temple in our house and use this whatever wealth we have to glorify Krishna and to serve Krishna. And then this is perfect. And then it says that such a devotee acts only for the bare necessities of life. So devotee just wants to maintain the body. It will be further explained in the purport. And thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. Yeah, 1 week ago we were discussing about 3 types of karma, which is coming from our pious activities. We get some good results. And vikarma is when we are committing sins and we get bad reactions. But akarma is when we are doing devotional service and we become completely purified from our from the results of activities. So this is akarma. Devotional service is akarma. And but here Srila Prabhupada specifically explains that one is freed from all sinful reactions, because if one is performing their duties, whatever duty one has, this is described here how this person in Krishna consciousness is working, but is not affected by sinful reactions because it's protected by devotional service. If in this process of devotional service we are following 4 regulative principles which are protecting us from sin. So if we do that, we are protected from sinful reactions. And also just by doing whatever Krishna wants us to do, we are protected from sin. Just like Arjuna, he was so scared of committing a sin and of killing his enemies and his friends. He didn't want to do that because he was scared of the sinful reactions. But Krishna was explaining to him that I'm instructing you to do that. And he says in Bhagavad Gita, just surrender to me and I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. And he says, do not fear. So if we are surrendering to Krishna and if we are following what he wants us to do, we are completely free from sinful reactions. So, and this point about just accepting necessities, whatever we really need, we don't need much, to maintain the body and soul together. And the devotee is meant to just be satisfied by bare necessities of life. In the Ishopanishad, verse 1, it is said, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita magrida kasya sviddanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Yeah, so that is the point, that we just accept whatever is given to us, whatever comes to us by its own accord, by our karma, and we are not trying in a way that is not honest. We are not trying to to accumulate more money by stealing, by cheating, by killing. This is not right. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, a Krishna conscious person does not expect good or bad results in his activities. Yeah, so that means in the Sanskrit, this word nirasi means without material desires. That means a devotee in Krishna consciousness just wants to do things for Krishna's pleasure without any motive. Anyabhilashita shunyam gyana karma dhyanavritam anukuliyana krishnanu shilanam bhakti ruttama. So anyabhilashita means shunyam, means without material desires, or without any desire other than serving the Lord, serving Krishna. So that's why devotee, whatever they do, they just want to please Krishna. A pure devotee doesn't want to do service for recognition, for material gain or wealth. The only motive is to serve Krishna. And then it says that his mind and intelligence are fully controlled. So just like we explained that if one is always, this pure devotee is always thinking of how can I serve Krishna? How can I please Krishna in this situation? So that completely absorbs the mind and helps to control the senses in this way. So of course for us it may be difficult, to always be able to think like that, but we can try and practice that. When we have some dilemma in our life, we don't know what to do, this is a good meditation to think, how Krishna would be pleased in this situation? What can I do to please Krishna in this situation? And that may help us to go out a little bit from our mind, from what I want. And most of the cases it's good to advise some senior devotees, someone who can look at it from Shastric perspective, and understand how we can in this situation act in order to make advancement, spiritual advancement. And if we do that, then we will get blessings. If we follow the instructions of the seniors and we follow the instructions of Shastra, we'll get the mercy and the blessings, and thus our activities will be successful and we will be happy. Because this is the ultimate outcome of, if we are following Krishna's instructions, we are happy. Then Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, he knows that because he is part and parcel of the Supreme, the part played by him as a part and parcel of the whole is not his own activity, but is only being done through him by the Supreme. That is very interesting, and I was thinking how, just like in the theater there is a play director and there are actors, and they are meant to just do what the play director wants them to do. And so it's not really what they are doing on the stage, it's not really their will, how they want to act. They are just acting how the play director wants them to act. And similarly in our devotional service, the goal is just to do everything what Krishna wants, to just act in a way which is fulfilling his will. Yeah, so a pure devotee prays. Actually, anyone can pray for that, to become instrument in Krishna's hands. And this is what Srila Prabhupada was always praying for, that let me become a puppet in your hands and let me dance how you want me to dance. And thus, one becomes an instrument in Krishna's hands. And this is something which maybe some of you have experienced in your life, that sometimes, you really need some words of support or some words of wisdom, or you are really eager to find out the answer to some questions, and suddenly you hear the class and then the answer comes, or you speak to someone and the answer comes. So this is actually Krishna is acting through this person. This person is the instrument in Krishna's hands. And sometimes maybe you also felt that you said something to someone and they said to you, oh, thank you so much, I really needed to hear that. And again, then you become the instrument in Krishna's hands. And this is beautiful, how Krishna is acting through his devotees. Then it is said, when the hand moves, it does not move out of its own accord, but by the endeavor of the whole body. Yes, so the hand does not move independently. First there has to be a message in the brain that I want to move this hand, and then there is the whole mechanism which allows this hand to move. If there is some injury in the body, the hand may not be allowed to move. The whole mechanism must be working. And a Krishna-conscious person is always dovetailed with the supreme desire, for he has no desire for personal sense gratification. Yes, so if we cut the hand from the body, this hand is useless. But if the hand is acting with the body, cooperating with the body, then there is function for this hand to perform in order to cooperate with the body. And so, similarly, if we are acting in accordance to Krishna's desire, if we are acting in a way that is helpful to spreading Krishna consciousness and to develop our own Krishna consciousness, this is pleasing for Krishna, and that means we are cooperating with him. That means we, as a part and parcel of the Supreme, we are cooperating with him. Yeah, then Srila Prabhupada explains that such a person, a Krishna conscious person is always dovetailed with the supreme desire, for he has no desire for personal sense gratification. So a pure devotee, every moment they meditate, how can I serve Krishna, what Krishna wants from me. And he moves exactly like a part of a machine. So part of a machine is not independent from the machine, just like we mentioned the hand. Hand is not independent from the body. As a machine part requires oiling and cleaning for maintenance, so a Krishna conscious man maintains himself by his work just to remain fit for action in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So if example can be a car which there is a driver of the car, but we need to somehow maintain this car, we need to put oil in the car and you need to put petrol. Otherwise, if you're just running this car and not supplying any petrol, any oil, it will just stop at some point. You won't be able to use it anymore. So similarly, the soul is like the driver of the car, and the body is like the car. So just like the car needs to be supplied with oil and petrol, similarly this body needs to be supplied with nutrition. So that's why it's very important to take nutritious prasadam and to take enough rest to satisfy the needs of the body, and not only gross body but even subtle body. Also the mind needs some satisfaction. That's why we have such a variety of devotional service that we can perform according to our propensities, according to our nature. And if we are engaged according to our nature, and if we have support of our friends, our seniors, if we have good relationships with devotees, that all gives us balance, it makes us peaceful and satisfied, and so that we can peacefully perform devotional service. Then it is said here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, actually one more point from his class, he said that this body, he said, you need to live very, very nicely so that you don't become diseased, because this body is a very precious gift. A human form of life, it's a very precious gift, and we should keep it fit for devotional service. So then it says that he is therefore immune to all the reactions of his endeavors. Because the man in Krishna consciousness is, yes, we all have to do some work. Those who are not living in a temple need to go to work and maintain the family and themselves, and so they have to do some work. But because they are, like it is explained here, that there is no really need to over endeavor and over accumulate and try some cheating methods in order to gain more and more. If one is just satisfied with whatever bare necessities are provided, then one is not going to become a victim of sinful reactions. And actually, not only sinful, but any reactions. Srila Prabhupada says he's immune to all the reactions of his endeavors because he's acting for Krishna's pleasure. And that is akarma, that is no karma. And that gradually gives us opportunity to become free from the cycle of repeated birth and death. Then it is said, just like an animal, he has no proprietorship even over his own body. Yeah, so animal, like for example, a dog has a master, so the dog really belongs, this body of the dog belongs to the master, and the master will decide what's going to happen to this dog. And similarly, we cannot claim proprietorship over our body because our master is Krishna, and this body should be used in his service, and we should use this body in the best way. So we need to also take care of it because it's not our proprietorship, it's not our possession, and therefore we need to take care of it nicely and offer it to Krishna. A cruel proprietor of an animal sometimes kills the animal in his possession, yet the animal does not protest, nor does it have any real independence. Yeah, so this is a really interesting topic about independence, because in this Western world, this independence is considered as something undesirable. Women want to be independent from men, and children want to be independent from their parents. But in Vedic culture, we know that being dependent means being protected. Like a woman, if she accepts the shelter of her father when she's a small girl, and then she accepts the shelter of a husband when she's an adult, and then she accepts the shelter of the son when she's elderly, then it means she's protected. And so this dependence becomes very something desirable and something very helpful. And similarly for the child, if the child decides to move out from home and just live by themselves, they have to struggle so much, cook for themselves and take care of their own flat or whatever it is, and they are not protected. So this is the price, but unfortunately these days it is considered to be like a luxury to be independent, but it is illusion. It's the real happiness is actually in being dependent on, of course, on the person who we are dependent on. They also have some responsibility to take care of us. So then there is happy relationship if there is dependence, but there is also protection. And similarly, a pure devotee is completely dependent on Krishna, and Krishna says that as you surrender to me, I will reciprocate accordingly. So if we surrender to Krishna 100%, Krishna protects us 100%. So in that way, it's desirable to become completely dependent on Krishna. So not to have any other shelter but him. And then it says that a Krishna conscious person fully engaged in self-realization has very little time to falsely possess any material objects. Yeah, material objects take time. The more possession you have, the more you have to think about it, insure it, and pay bills, and so on and so forth. But for maintaining body and soul, he does not require unfair means of accumulating money. Yeah, there is no need to take to some, like it is said here, for unfair means. Yeah, there is no need to take to some unfair means of accumulating money. And he does not therefore become contaminated by such material sins. He is free from all reactions to his actions. Like we said, that person, Krishna consciousness, is just satisfied with whatever is there, and is focused on just maintaining the body to be able to serve Krishna, and thus he does not, he's not subjected to the reactions, neither sinful nor pious. So to conclude the main points today, first we were saying about how the mind is like a naughty child, and it's impossible to just stop it from acting, and the only way to somehow subdue it is to engage it in Krishna's service. This refers to the mind and body. The best way to use it is to use it in Krishna's service. And then there was the principle of satisfaction with whatever Krishna has provided us. If we are satisfied with what we got from Krishna, then we are happy. Like in Bhagavad Gita it said, satisfaction is austerity of the mind. So yes, austerity must be there, and then satisfaction comes also. And if we are acting like that, we won't become frustrated. If we are just satisfied with whatever Krishna provided for us, we will be happy, and we will be satisfied. And another thing is, it's a good practice of detachment to be detached from the results of our actions. Sometimes we do something, we have the best intentions, but then the result is not the best. But still, it is a good practice to think that, okay, I did it with all my good intentions, I did it for Krishna, but the result is something I did not really expect. But then we try to just accept it, that this is what Krishna wanted. He wanted me to become detached from the results of my activities. And one last point we mentioned is that working with Krishna consciousness protects us from sin, and ultimately relieves us from both sinful and pious reactions, and thus we get a chance to get out of the repeated birth and death cycle. So I'd like to stop here, and if there's any questions or comments, please. Yeah. 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 Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That was really many nice points. But yeah, that was really nice, interesting how you said that this independence is that everyone is trying to be independent, and this is very encouraged in the Western society. And but actually, the truth is that we can never be independent, and that ultimately, yeah, everyone is trying to be independent from this person or that person. But you mentioned just like a child is, you know, is we may try to give child to different people, but ultimately the child will never be happy until it reaches the arms of the father or the mother. So similarly, also we cannot be happy trying to be independent and trying many ways how to be independent, but ultimately until we are with Krishna, until we give ourselves to Him, we will never be happy, we'll never be satisfied. Yeah, that is really true. Thank you very much for your comment. Anyone else has anything to say? Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai.